Good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to the 23rd edition of Business Opportunity Over Chai webinar series which we started on 1st of May. Until now, we have already concluded 22 webinars, a platform through where we represent you, we give you all the important brands, and you can select out of those. We have our panelists, Gaurav sir and Sonia ma'am. We welcome Gaurav sir, who is the chairman of Franchise India Group, and Sonia ma'am, MD for Franchise India Brands Limited, to take us to share their insights and learning with all of us. Today, we are representing you. Brand of the day is EduHeal Foundation, and we have privilege that Dr. Sandeep Elawat is with us. He started his journey in 2005 with this startup. EduHeal Foundation is the market leader in school Olympiads, and they have already reached out to 9 lakh students and 5,000 plus schools across India and globe. With this introduction, I warmly welcome Dr. Sandeep Elava to take us through the journey of EduHeal. Thank you so much, sir. Welcome to the webinar.
Yeah, thank you, Archana ma'am. I can now take control of the screen, and just to give you a brief background about, I'm basically a medical doctor who's cleared the All India CBSE PMT. That was way back in 1991. And somehow I had an inclination for the education sector, whatever be the background. And from there, I moved on to the what you call the PMT and the IIT segment. So I started with the magazine, a lot of correspondence courses, a lot of products for the IIT PMT. And then I realized, there's something more is required to reach out to the school. So then I started with the NGO known as the EduHeal Foundation. It's a conglomerate of media doyens. We had the ex-advisor to the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Rammohan Rao, been there. The BSc director, Mr. Datta, is there, and then I have two, three important people from the CBSE, the Joint Secretary, and the directors been there. So we all came together and we formed the NGO. Over this period, through this NGO, we reached out to a remarkable number of schools across India, and it doesn't just stop at India. We even went to the Gulf. We have a lot of Indian schools in the Gulf, and then there are Indian schools in Nepal, Singapore, Indonesia, and Japan. So overall, this 15 plus years of journey that we had, we have annually. The word here is annually reach out to around 9 lakh students and 5,000 schools. Besides this, we reach out to some government schools also. So that we normally don't head up in our things. And then in 2016, I started with this EHF Learning Media Private Limited, so that we can, onboard entrepreneurs, we can have franchisees, we can have, have a more marketing fillip to the Olympiad business. Now, as far as, what are Olympiads? These are basically talent search exams, and they're in fact the need of the day because, whatever the academic profile may be for the schools, even for the category schools, the parents, they require something more than, just that annual testing that has been done in the schools. So this is where the NTSC was there, and NTSC was a very restrictive kind of a thing. Only 2-3 classes can take part, and only 70% about students could take part in it. So this is where my NGO filled up the gap. So we reach out to all the classes with almost all the subjects, and give something which the students and the parents were looking for. Now the parents were looking for something more than the academic input that was being required. So we give them a beautiful insight about how the child is doing. Not just that, whatever the details we give through our aptitude reports, we in fact figure out the merit students, and we felicitate them. So every year at the Bombay Stock Exchange, where you have that big hall where the trading used to take place. So in that same hall, we have around more than 1,000 students coming each year from across the country, plus a few from the Gulf. And then we have a lovely ceremony for them with the principals and teachers and everybody who've been there. So besides the Bombay Stock Exchange, for whom we do the Financial Literacy Olympiad, we have we were the first one to introduce the Google Science Fair when they had started in 2015, and we took them to the Indian schools, and the schools really appreciated. More than 1,200 schools had participated at that time. And I mean, besides introducing them to the Indian schools, we also conduct the mentor classes for them, so that a lot of Indian students get an idea what Google Science Fair was, or what Harvard MIT match tournament was, and then make a mark in that. So in fact, if you read up some news report from somewhere, you can more than 15% of the Google Science Fair finalists were actually Indians, and a lot of them from India, and with lovely project making skills they had developed. So this is where the EHF has played its role. It's been associated with the government also as part of the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. So we were taking care of the students who were out of school students. So this is how we worked out. The journey has been wonderful. We reached to more than 9 lakh students. We got 5,000 plus schools. We got 11 Olympiads in almost all the subjects for all the classes. And so this is where I invite all of you to join and be a part of the Olympiad business. And somebody just asked me last time that what is the USP. I feel the best answer here is something like everybody knows the schools are the biggest money making bodies, and if you can get a pie of that that money that all the good schools are making, so this is one of the Olympiads or these extracurricular activities, either through Olympiads or through the preparatory books or through online tests. These are the three mediums through which we can reach across to the schools, and then you get a good share of more than 1/3 of the amount that we are making. So if I give you a short example of how things have been, I think I'll just brief you how we go about to the schools. So we have a preparatory kit. If you want, I can just show you. This is what we take to the schools. This has the principal form, the registration forms, the poster, and the other details which the schools require to register to us. And once they have registered through you, then everything, all the processes, it's basically a service industry. So all the processes are taken over by the Edule Foundation. And then we generate the paper, we send them paper, the OMR sheets, we conduct the exams. If they want to conduct online exams, especially, during these times, we have been the pioneer as far as online exams are concerned. And with a reasonably good success rate, and our modus operandi for online exams is something, we reach out to the schools. We ask them if you have a computer lab, they have a decent number of, computers. So what we do is we conduct these tests within the school computer lab. The child is not required to go anywhere outside, which is a big headache for some of the schools. So once they have conducted the exams, then they send us the required materials back to us. I'll move on to the next slide because there's certain things that I have already talked. And once then we send them the result, then we conduct the prize distribution ceremonies, and Then we reach out to the media for whatever is required. We send them the certificate. So all those paraphernalias that are, connected to conducting an Olympiad, we have done it efficiently over this 15 years. And over the years, we have been growing incrementally, whatever the schools come. Uh, Otherwise, what 8 to 10% drops are there, but every year, almost 20 to 22% of the new schools keep adding up with us also. So as far as we are YEHF is concerned, so we got this, this innovative online thing. We have a very good outreach to the schools in India and the Indian curriculum-based schools abroad, especially the Gulf. You have UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. We got pretty good number of sponsors. We linked to the good agencies. And coming to that second point, why now? Uh, I mean, these COVID times have been tough. So this is the best time where you can you can work at home, you can work locally, and you can reach out globally. Because education business is one, you can reach out sitting at your place through the internet and other mediums. And in a way, why do you do that? So that there's a huge market that can be tapped. As far as the plain simple statistics or the data is concerned, you have good number of 70 crore private school students. So we hardly reached anywhere. If you actually look at that the kind of market we have to tap. And so not just this private schools, there's a huge number. I think there's almost 250 crores of number of students who are in the government school. The criteria to reach out to a government school is slightly different. You'll have to reach out to your district education officer, and from there uh, because the students are not going to pay you the fees. So in order to tap the government, you'll have to reach out to certain a different level of persons, and once you click with them, then it's a huge market that can be worked out. And as far as my 15 years of experience has been concerned, we had reached out to Dr. Raman Singh. I mean, the latest one I'm telling you. So over this last year, before this government had changed, we had reached out to Dr. Raman Singh, and he had really liked our Olympiad program. In this, we were trying to link up the aptitude of the student and trying to use the local infrastructure that Chhattisgarh had. So if a student is good in let's suppose sixth class student in mathematics is good at fractions, and there are a lot of schools around that child where they're not good at fractions. So first we linked up these schools with those good schools so that they can match up, and then link up their teacher also. So Dr. Raman Singh, he had really liked the thing, but unfortunately the government changed. And so what I'm trying to give you as a picture is there's a huge untapped market. I mean, if you have good links, you can go out, work out things. There's a huge thing that is waiting in the field of assessments and Olympiads. So the other thing is, which I just told you, there's a pie of huge school profit that you can look at. It's a long-term scalable model. Every year you just keep incrementing. So if you got 10 schools this year, so next year, I mean, you minus your whatever attrition rate will be there for 8 to 10%. So 1, 2 schools will drop up and another 8 to 10 will add up. So next year you have 20, 25. I mean, if you just do a, normal housewife sitting at home, just wants to, tap up the local school environment, which is not more than 5 to 10 kilometers. So that's the kind of scenario I'm giving to you. Otherwise, if you are looking at the full state or if you're looking at a full member of parliament area where there are a huge number of schools of all types from A, B to C grade schools, there of course the financial outlook is going to be very different. And of course it also depends on how much your school links are, how much you can work hard, how much you can reach out, how much you can follow up. There's hardly any investment besides the franchisee fees, a little bit for this kit that I just showed to you. There essentially no other expenses except for whatever internet cost you might be having, or the cost of traveling TATA, what you call, to reach out, and possibly a little cost of should I term that as a Diwali gifting? So you have to reach out to the school heads and give them a little bit gifts, which everybody appreciates. The next, there's no infrastructure required. There's no setup, essentially nothing. You give the kit, you have your school list, you have your scooter ready, you reach out to the schools, you take appointments, you keep following it up. And once the principal or the coordinator teacher, they says, yes, it's a go ahead. So the things, get in the motion required. There's no training required as such. I mean, you have just a basic, sale marketing thing inside you, and just reach out with your kit and you use your basic knowledges. It's more than enough. It's an incremental business, which I just told you, and there's a lot of social respect, because you're not just making money, or you're eating commissions, the way we talk about doctors and lawyers. I think there's a lot of respect that the coordinators or franchisees will get once you are in the education business. The other thing was what's your knowledge that's required. It's local knowledge that's important, because the schools have an appreciation for a person who's in and around that thing. So because it involves certain amount of money that needs to be collected through the students, the school is responsible for everything. And if they hand you the money, or to my organization, the local person or the local one with the local knowledge is always appreciated. That's why that work locally is important here. If you have school links, that perfect. I mean, if it takes you 10 months to break even, I think if you have good school links, it might just take you even less than a month to break even. So it all depends how you link to the schools, and how nicely you can reach out to the schools and all. There are other things that can be there. Coaching is, I mean, if you're running a coaching institute, and I mean, you're free from morning 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So, I mean, if you reach out and you do my thing also, and you're doing your thing also, it was connected to that. So then we move on to the next. I think I need that. This is the online thing that I had told you about. This is something you can even see real time. There was this point about transparency, which I told you about being unique. So this is one of those transparent things. So moment a child participates in a online exam, so we ask him for his feedback and to give us the number of stars that he finds us suitable, and immediately this is visible on our website. So you can go on to our EHF Olympia, the website that you have, and you can have a look what the students are saying in real time. It's good, bad, whatever, the personal things they have. And we've been pretty successful in it, because there are a lot of people doing online exams and all. There are a lot of glitches. Uh, the worst thing is, even the grade A schools, which we say, okay, at least they are techno savvy. Even they, that lack the interest to be a part of this thing. So we have made, things very simplified for them. We have a huge number, more than a lakh of questions, huge database in English in all the subjects, and partly in Hindi also. So once they can take it on the mobile, they can take it on their computer screens, and they've been doing almost this year we conducted around 25,000 tests for this, and they keep on increasing every time. So there is something there that we have been very unique. You can make an online setup. That's easy, everybody can do it. But when you have those operational difficulties coming into the picture, this is where the differentiation comes. So we have been pretty successful. A lot of input goes from my people who are in my office, and we keep connecting to the school coordinators and all, so that it becomes a hassle-free kind of a thing. Okay, I move on to next. Just give me a minute. As far as benefit is concerned, just a minute. There are other things that we can, look into it. Of course, we have the number of Olympiads. Our certificates matter. We had a understanding with the ISRO. ISRO never says yes to anybody, but we were able to convince them, and we even onboarded Rakesh Sharma, who was the first Indian astronaut to be our mentor, and that gave a huge fillip. And even the certificate had the ISRO logo. So these are some of the things. We are transparent because we even show our parents what the child has marked, and so that and we are available to them if they want to have any questions with us. Of course, the other things that we have already uh, been discussed. So the other, Olympiad is not just taking an exam. You have to have a whole gamut of activities that take along with it. So besides the prize distribution ceremony, we have those. We have seminars and workshops and visits. The ISRO had agreed to uh, when the Chandrayaan was to be launched, so they had agreed to send our students, and after that they extended it to all the government schools, and finally I think to the Kendriya Vidyalayas. I think I talked most of the things. So now we come to the business model association. uh, this is basically this 5 lakh fees is if you are in the member of parliament area and if you want to be associated with us, this is 5 lakhs. There is a security deposit of 1 lakh. Then marketing collaterals, this kit I just showed you. So we added up the cost there. We are sharing more than 1/3 of the amount that we generate from the schools to you through the Olympiads, through the books, and through the online. Payback period is if you work it out very normally, then this is 10 months. It depends, if you do well, you have links and other features, so it can be as low as 1 month also. It depends how much of follow up and how much of work behind the scenes is there. Thank you. So we can have question and answers. Dheeraj.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep. You're a very accomplished man, and being a medical professional, doctor, qualified to getting into education, it's a big risk and shift. And I don't know. I would like to start with what your parents told you. Once you are qualified, you qualified, and then you don't want to pursue the career. You've given years and years of learning and education, and then you suddenly change. Very few people are like that. So what was that moment for you? And it was difficult? Your family was with you or not with you, or they said this is the biggest mistake you're doing? And what they say now, I mean, and what you tell you yourself, was this the right move or not right move?
It was I think the best moves because of all that I compared, with my friends who are in US, UK, who are doctors elsewhere also. They themselves tell me you've done the best thing. So no regrets. In fact, it was the best decision I've taken. And I think the thing was, the amount of hard work that goes into a medical field is not commensurate with the remuneration that you get. So some, may take it in the other way around, but then I looked at the NGO part, the business part, and ultimately you have to make a difference. Either you be a doctor or you be an educationist, you ultimately making a difference. And this NGO of mine is both for health and for education. So as far as education is concerned, the Olympiads are there. The health part is also there, so that's an entirely different concept. We go to the first aid to schools for first aid, and there's something very unique that my NGO is trying to make, so that you can diagnose your own diseases sitting at home on your mobile. with the present telemedicine, giving you a legal framework for you to do that. So, I mean, those parts are very much there. And as far as, those PMT things are concerned, Mariaji, we were unique and pioneer in that sense. If you looked at, Kunjis at that time, when you had those CBSE PMT and DPMTs and all. So, I mean, there were, worthless piece of papers with all wrong answers and wrong questions. And when I generated those, we call them explorers, I mean, they turned out to be the best in the market as far as content is concerned. And they're still selling hotshot. I mean, I shifted them to my brother owns them now. It's MTG Learning Media Private Limited. And they sell like hotcakes all across the country. He gives me a royalty, so I'm not losing out anything anywhere.
Sure, sure. Sure. And this Kunjis remind me because I was playing sports when my growing schooling. So, and I also only depend on Kunjis, so, and results were obviously very proportionate to what you said because I was reading the wrong content. Now I get it that why I've never scored good numbers because I was dependent on these
all this.
all the wrong Kunjis.
Yes.
So now getting into business, I think you explained the business and what your NGO does and the Olympiad part of it. Congratulations for the impact you've created for so many students and so many establishments, schools and so forth. But just to stay on a business model, and I'll have 3 or 4 questions for you. From a market share viewpoint, what has the market share impact to you would be, and how you think, how many schools are there currently in India by number or percentage, which currently don't have anything like this, and what is an opportunity size? If I want to really put this, how big is an opportunity for our audience if they become a franchisee or take a license of any district, or you said, so what would be the size they can see from a penetration viewpoint? That's question number 1. Yeah.
Okay. Mariaji, that's a very good question because, the reason why we all here is because there's a huge untapped market. And there are 2 aspects of it. One is, you look at those grade A and B schools. A schools which have more than 1,000 students. I term them as A. The B are between 500 and 1,000. There are a huge number of them. And C are, those जो एक कमरे में खुले हुए हैं, कहीं 200 बच्चे हैं, कहीं 150 बच्चे हैं. So अगर आप सिर्फ ये प्राइवेट वाले स्कूल ही लगाते हैं तो there are more than 70 crore of these students. And if I add up what I and my competitors have reached out, so the number does not cross more than 50 lakhs. So, I mean, let's, out of those 70 crores, let's say these 20 crores still say no and, whatever reasons they have. So out of this 50 crores, we have only reached 50 lakhs. So that's only 1%. So there's still that 99% still needs to be taken care of. The other big segment, जैसे मारिया जी मैंने कहा ना कि schools are the biggest money making body, उसके बाद तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ही आती है, सबसे बड़ी माई बाप वही है और सबसे ज़्यादा पैसे फिर उसके पास हैं. तो the way we could reach out to Chhattisgarh, to the Punjab government, there's a huge scope for assessments, for trying to improve the quality of education there. There are various terms each of the state governments will use. So once you go and with Chhattisgarh, we had talked for around 2 crores. So they were initially giving us 2 lakh students. So I mean, it goes into lakhs and lakhs. So there's a huge untapped potential that can be worked out here. And then of course, then we have the paraphernalia. This is just the Olympiad. Then you have selling the books. So the books fetch you a good profit. And then we have the online exams. This is something that we can tap because I had talked to the CBSE IT director, and he says, they're not, the CBSE itself is not so happy with TCS. The TCS charges them 350 rupees per exam, whatever they're taking. For the online exams, they conduct NEET and this IIT one they were conducting, IEEE one. So they're not happy with TCS as such. So they're still looking for more partners. So I mean, this is one more scope where the franchisees can pitch in and work out. So
So,
these are the three basic things. Yes.
thank you very much. Very elaborative. And now my second question on the business model for our audience to understand. Give me an earning potential per school based, both for assessment and Olympiad. If I take in my city, say 10 schools I tie up with, what is my earning potential? And you said 35% would be my share, but what is the overall earning potential from that 10 schools?
Okay, Mario, I'll just start from the basics so that we all get the hang of it. The Olympiads per Olympiad cost is $150, and of this, 25 rupees goes to the school because they help us conduct the level one, and they help us for level two and whatever. Level two is the online exam that we conduct, and then we have the preparatory books that is $80. Of this, 20 rupees is retained by the school, and then of course the online is 60 rupees and other things, those online tests. Now, when the franchisee is there, he has an option of giving the schools all the product at 150 rupees and 80 rupees and retaining the other part. This, what we are giving to the schools is at the beck and call of the franchisee. If he wants to partake that 25 rupees to the school, he can do that. And let's suppose he gives that and my organization receives 125 rupees from the Olympiads and 80 rupees from the books. Of this percentage, the balance, around 25 to 20% will further be, given to the franchisee. So overall, if you, look at from the 150 rupees and the 80 rupees viewpoint, 35%. So more than one third of the amount that will be generated will be given to the franchisee.
Sure. So there's a good understanding for our audience. If you get about 10 schools or 15 schools in your area, their percentage, the student population would be 10,000 to 15,000. And you can do your maths and say, even if you have that kind of number, there is a good income you can generate with your percentage entire thing. And ambitious franchisees who go out and say capture 50 schools or 100 schools can have multiple incubation, which is one of the areas which I do in every webinar, that this business model has on the 5 areas which we always talk about. Scalability, it has enough and more scalability, but one has to be conscious that you need to have ability to acquire schools, which means you're either network relationships, either you can mobilize relationships, especially if you have relationships with education department of states. You obviously can easily go because they have a lot of schools under them or under their guidance and so forth. Or you are already in what I call educational aid supply, anything which you supply to schools, or you have, as Doctor said, you are already in the coaching business and evening are coaching, some strategic value you have where you can reach out to school, then there is no problem in scalability. Sustainability is very good because it's a low cost franchise. You only have to buy 5 lakh rupees and you can buy the business. And it also has affordability because a lot of people are looking for low cost franchise, work from home franchise. You don't have to put up an office. So it is in that sense. Credibility wise, he's been doing this business. 9 lakh kids already use that platform. For 5,000 schools been already benefited. So it's a large number of work been already done in the benefit of everybody, and technology is in place, infrastructure is place, content is place. So that also is there. And finally, coming down to the predictability, which we also talk about it. Predictability in this business is also there because every school also is benefiting because they also get a share out of whatever you bring the value addition to them, and they maybe get a 25 rupees per this and the study material you provide, they get another 20 rupees. So they are also encouraged to continue to enroll, and year on year, once you acquire a school, then they would continue to enroll year on year with the same program and continue to develop. So this is a great opportunity from that perspective. I feel that Olympiad is a phenomenon globally, everywhere. Assessment and making kids prep and creating a larger platform of so assessment is very, very important for all educational institutions. India is one of the lowest penetrated markets, and as Doctor also said, this is scalable not only to India. He's already done in Dubai, with GCC, and other parts of the world where Indian education or Indian form of education. So I will now like to invite Sonia in the discussion. Sonia, your viewpoint on the opportunity, and you would like to take some questions from the audience.
Mariaji, if you don't mind, I can just give a small brief of that thing that you just said. On an average, we get around 150 students per school. Okay, and if you actually looking at examples, there've been schools like we have a school in Chennai. It's only one school, but we get 6,000 students from there. They take 6,000 books also. Then there's a place like Arakonam. So there's a school which gives us 12,000 students. They don't take books. And if you then you go to Erode. Erode, she's the coordinator that I have there. She's a biotech professor, and she's been with us for the past 13, 14 years. And she gets us around 7,000 students from roughly 5 to 6 schools. And then if you move to a small place like Latur or Jalgaon, I get around 10,000 students from there. I mean, it's a small place. I mean, a lot of them are Marathi medium for that matter. But I mean, the number of, the kids that are generated there. So 10,000 students and around 6 to 7,000 books. So the Olympiad business is huge. So people have to just get involved that way.
Yeah, so I think the only piece of advice which you rightly said, business-wise, there is enough and more and will continue to rise because the market share is very little penetrated and there is a larger demand available. But the only thing one has to really see is how do you go to market you can able to do. How can you get the first 10 schools or 5 schools and do that? Then you are in cycle, then you have a reference point, and then you are able to do that. Even if a lady out of Erode, which is a small city, I've been there, it's a small city, if you can do 7,000 kids, and you have a consistent, sustainable business year.
From just 5 schools. From just 5 schools.
Yeah, so it's not a big effort. You just get 5 schools and get 7,000 kids, and you make a lot of money, which is paid off. You don't have any infrastructure, no office, no OPEX, no employees. You can directly coordinate, and it's a very structure. It's an IP business. IP businesses are difficult to get in. Once you get the IP business in, you continue to make royalties on that. It's like a software business. When you load a software, they charge you a very small fee, and it's like SaaS, which subscribers continue to pay you over the time. And yeah, so now
a low cost, high volume game.
Yeah, high volume game, and India has all about volume. So we have volume in everything. Hopefully, we should not get too much volume in our virus coming out. that otherwise, we are all scared about one volume. India should not show its full capacity. Yeah, over to you, Sonia.
Thank you so much, Dr. Elawat ji. It was really interesting to go through the entire information that you put for all our people attending this webinar. And I would say very impressive to see the kind of work that you have done, accolades, and your own credentials, which talk a lot about the overall credibility of the foundation, the institution, and also the larger institutions, ones like Google, Harvard, MIT, Bombay Stock Exchange. They all add credibility to the work that you have done. In my opinion, because I have experience, my children have taken some of these Olympiads, every year and across a lot of these subjects, so to say. I feel they add to the overall and holistic development of a child. They do very good to the logical thinking, the analytical thinking, and overall intellectual skills. And I was reading some time back, there are certain schools which don't have. So the school is also under the pressure to add the Olympiads. So the parents are demanding for the schools to add Olympiad as a part of one of the value add services which they could give to the students. And recently, I think Snapdeal, they added eVertical on their online platform. They've started selling Olympiad book on their platform. I also saw the government of India, we talked about them. They have started, and they recently announced their services of Olympiad even to the rural areas. I don't know how inclusive that could be, but through their common service centers, they announced they wanted to do that for basic subjects like math, science, English, and Hindi. So overall, there's a great opportunity. And you talked about the number of schools. I took a note of that, and the opportunity is magnanimous. Dr. Saab, my question to you is: we talked about number of players we have. I think in the private sector, there are close to about 20 odd top players who are in like SOF and Hummingbird, and then there are few more. And then we have government, which is both at the central level and the state level. I wanted to understand, and also for our audience, is there a difference in terms of the recognition or the ranking or the prestige attached to it or some kind of certifications? Because all these Olympiads come with a certificate and ranking. Is it that some of these private or government players have a higher prestige or a higher ranking? And one question is this. And second, is it mandatory for the foundations like you to also help students in placements, scholarships, or college admissions? Because I was reading in one of the brochures that it does help, because based on their scores they have, it adds a lot of value. So is it mandatory for institutions like you to help them, or they're left on their own to find what fits them best? So two questions I would repeat, one is on the recognition, ranking and certification, and second is on their placements, scholarships, and the admissions in colleges further.
Yes, Sonia ma'am, I had briefed, how, all these talent things have come. It basically started from the NTSC. There was a huge market. The government was restrictive. They said, okay, only 3 classes and only if you have 70% and more. So what happens to the rest of the kids? So this is, and the craze amongst the kids, the parents, the international Olympiads, everything was there. So you just had a market which needs to be tapped in. So then, as you said, a lot of players came into the picture, and these are all private players. We don't have, any, we just don't have to go to the government, say, okay, you authorize us and all. Our organizations are authorized. It's a registered trust that I have.
Right.
And if you get connected to the Shiksha Abhiyan, so those kind of connections are very much there. Besides that, you don't require any kind of authorization or anything. You are entirely in the own setup. You make your own rules. You go out to the schools. Certain issues do crop up, like we go to the Kendriya Vidyalaya headquarters. So they say, okay, we go to a Kendriya Vidyalaya, they'll say, oh, get permission from the headquarters. So in that case, we have to reach out to the Ministry of HRD. Give us permissions. If they don't give us permission, the principals are very well authorized, to conduct Olympiads. Recently, the Kerala government, somebody was saying the government is not allowing and they're not saying yes to it. The government can say it, but they cannot stop us. I think, because we get so many schools and students from the Kerala, in fact, Chinmaya Vidyalayas and all, the majority of these schools are coming to us. So the ultimate decision maker in a private school is the principal and the person who owns the school. The government has nothing to do with. Now, the other aspect which I said, there are at least 250 crore government school students. This is where, you need a government permission to tap them, because the payment doesn't come from the student, it comes from the government. So in Maharashtra, we have reached out to the district education officer, and from there, he gets us the required permission, and we have Pratibha Vikas Vidyalayas in Delhi coming to us, because they really appreciate our Olympiad. So it's both the ways, the principal, if he wants, he can, take a decision in that. The Kendriya Vidyalayas can take a decision. We were the prime movers of introduction of biotechnology in Kendriya Vidyalaya, in fact, in all the schools across the country. So when Arjun Singh had started biotechnology in the Kendriya Vidyalayas, we were the one who helped the KV Sangathan to frame how the laboratory has to take place. It costed around 10 lakh rupees, and how the Olympiad and all those things have to be worked out. So it's a bag of mixed thing. As far as private school students are concerned, which are 70 crore, the government cannot interfere anywhere, say anything. As far as the government school students are concerned, of course, you have to go to the government because they have to pay you. So it's that. So as far as restrictions is all are concerned, it's not been an issue. That's why, you have 20, if you say 20 players are competitors. So that's why so many, players are coming to the market. If the government had been so restrictive enough. The government conducts so Homi Baba,
Right.
those
Bombay, I
exams
think
are
they have
there.
one in Bombay, Maharashtra.
But they are again restrictive. My Olympiad objective is to give you an interest in math, science, and, the topics to make the things more interesting. The subject like maths and science, and once we generate an interest, you give them prizes, certificate. That really gives a fillip to the, and of course the parents will like it. Oh, my school, my child has done so well. So as far as these things are concerned, there's not an issue anywhere as such, and the private people. We have a huge market which is there to be tapped. So we as such have no issues anyway. This was with respect to the. You said as far as the authority that question was concerned. We were talking about Homi Baba. They are very restrictive because they only take the cream, Dila cream, and then they, train them, these 10, 15 students, and take them to the international Olympiads. We even approached the international Olympiad committees for the mathematics and the science. They said only the government can do it. So I don't know why that restrictions are there. I mean, first of all, India is a huge country which got 300 million students, and of that you just want to select 30 students. It doesn't make sense. So if we just leave out the government, they're very restrictive. They just want to do it for the heck of doing it. The market is wide open. You just get into, and any of the schools can say yes to it. So not an issue at all. NTSC is there, GSTSC is there for the government, therefore restrictive. And a lot of small other, each of the state governments will be doing one of them of theirs. Highly restrictive, 2-3 classes. You must have this much number of. They don't give you any awards, any prizes, nothing. They're not encouraging. Only thing you get a certificate, and what happens after that. So you need a full ecosystem to keep you happy, the child keep you encouraged and motivated. So all those things are missing as far as the government is concerned. That's why the private players will always jump in, and so many of them have jumped in. Now out of these 20, they're just minuscule 3-4 players who have done the best. They have reached out to all the places. So out there also, it depends on the kind of programs you have, kind of linkages you have, what's your organizational setup, and how well you can create that ecosystem. Because out of these 20 players, there's just 2-3 players who you can really count on your fingers, and the rest, that a lot of them who hardly generate any kind of students, and it's more like a loss-making game for them than making profits.
I
That's
think that was very
it.
helpful, Dr. Sir.
What were the other question, ma'am? Sorry.
The other was, because I did see in your presentation, it helps in career building. Is that mandatory, or foundations like you play any kind of role in college admissions? Is there a score which can be added or a value add for the students? Scholarship is one area which I wanted to talk about. How does that work?
Ma'am, we had a huge talk with the Ministry of HRD in these matters. The government, they keep talking about PPP, public-private partnerships, and all those funny things. But when you actually go and sit down with them, they are very restrictive. So my point to them, since I said you need to recognize my Olympiad certificates if a child needs to, get into an admission in an Indian college. So they're still, haggling over it. They're still working on it. But you leave that aside, when you go to Singapore University, the NUS universities there, when you go to a lot of these US and the UK universities, there's so many of my, I call them EHF alumni students. They've gone to Harvard, they've gone to MIT, a lot of them gone to the Singapore University. And each of them, they show the certificate, and really matters. Now, if you have a logo of EHF, and if you have a logo of, let's suppose, the Bombay Stock Exchange, as far as finance is concerned, we had the logo of ISRO there. and the Google, we are part of the Google. So, somewhere, when these universities come back to us, and especially if you join IIT IM, especially if you're joining IM, all these IM guys have to, write back to us and ask us what were the number of students if I given you a rank of 1. So they'll ask you, okay, what were the rank out of how many students? So we get a lot of these queries, and uh, that gives you a kind of an idea. If you have a EHF certificate, it really gives a fillip to your career. It
Okay.
matters, especially if you take a school admission also, not just a college admission. If you take a school admission, that really matters.
Very, very
The
important.
government doesn't help you in any sense, ma'am. They're just there. And in fact, we are a non-governmental organization. We don't require their help. We can very well do on our own.
Dr. Saab, just coming back to our business model, you talked about average 150 students that a school can give. Uh, I wanted to have from a franchisee's perspective, how many minimum students he needs to have in a year. Because while he might have tie-up with a lot of schools, but not every school can give them the same number or higher number of students. What number of student should ideally a franchisee have to break even or make profit, as far as annual revenues are concerned, and close to what kind of annual revenue one can make if he has maybe the minimum number of students to break even?
Ma'am, to break even, if he can generate around 10,000 students. Now, when I say students, ma'am, a single student usually participates in 4 Olympiads or 3
Right.
Olympiads.
Yes.
And if you talk about competitors, he may take 2 of your Olympiad and one of another Olympiad and one of any other competitor. So one single student can take 3 to 4 Olympiads. He will take, if not 4 books, he'll take 2 of your books. Because normally the ratio for Olympiad and the book is around 50%. 100% kids don't take it. Some take online, that e-books that we have at Google. And then they want to, we have this EHF Olympia app, so they'll come and, give some money there and to participate and work out things. So a single student can be tapped for 2-3 Olympiads, or 2-3 books and this online thing. So from a single student, you can easily generate something like 300, 3, 4, 5, around 500 to 600. So we'll take on an average around 500. This is the basic, ma'am. I mean, in fact, we get a lot of students who take more than 5 plus, because we have a special offer for them. So they take all the 5 plus Olympiads. So if you are, generating 500 rupees from there, and, 1/3 of that amount, 35% of that comes back to you. So you divide that 5 lakh, you given to me by whatever that amount was coming. So 300, 150. So around 150 rupees you are generating from there.
So,
So
Dr. Saab, just
5,000.
to
So my sense is, ma'am, if in the first year they generate around 7 to 8,000 students who take these multiple things, you break even. If you take more than 10,000, generate more than 10,000, you're making profits.
okay, so this would mean if we take an average of 7 to 8,000, so this should be at least 22 unique subjects, so to say, for one. If you multiply, so these would be 22 odd subjects put together for all the
No,
students.
we have 11 subjects, ma'am.
No, when I say
So we have
22
11
multiplied,
Olympiads.
so if one student is taking 4, so if you have 8,000 people multiplied by 4, so this would be about 20,000 multiplied by, say, 150
Yeah,
or
if you take
200
it
as
as
an
the Olympiad wise, then it becomes that. What I calculated mathematically was, from one student who are taking multiple Olympiads and multiple books and possibly one of your online things, from one single student, you're taking 500 rupees. If you say Olympiad wise, then it's 150 rupees. So possibly two Olympiads that way. So it depends how you're calculating it.
Okay. And what is the cost a franchisee would incur? Does he need to keep any staff? He himself needs to be trained. He needs to come from that background. But does he require any staff also along
No,
with
ma'am,
him?
no background. It's no of whatever my experience has been there in this 15. And uh, just coming back to this earlier thing, what we were discussing mathematically, this is only in the first year, ma'am. Now, second year, you have a 10% attrition. Some schools say, okay, no, we got bored of you, we want another Olympiad. So 10% drop in, you're still marketing yourself. So you're adding up more of schools. So next year, you already broke even, and then you're making good profits, ma'am. And then the payment schedules with me are also quite lenient. So, I mean, moment you send it to me, I'll immediately, send back your commissions. And also, I mean, overall, it's an advantage that way.
Great.
What was the other question, ma'am?
So I'll take up some questions from our participants. We have a big list of questions that have come to us. So I'll take first one from Mr. Rajender G. He's running a Montessori school for the last 9 odd years, and he's currently not operating or doesn't want to operate. He wants to know if the space can be utilized for the foundation. And my spouse is Montessori certified and also career counsel. So do you think this can be added advantage for taking a franchisee of EduHeal Foundation?
No, ma'am, we are not looking for any space and all. So, that he can utilize, to conduct Olympiad training things and all. We're not into that. Yes, whatever that 9 years of experience that he had with running the school and all, so he's good enough an entrepreneur. And if he takes up the franchisee and he, with this knowledge and his wife being, because most of my coordinators have both husband and wife working together to, reach out to the schools. So a lot of follow-ups that are required. So he can reach out to a good number of schools in his area, then, tap the areas further, 10, 20 kilometers down. He can travel further on. The wife can take care of the, within the 10, 20 kilometers range, follow up with the schools and all. And he'll generate a good amount of money. The space is not required now. So further on, possibility if we, work out the Olympiad training centers and all, maybe a little bit, but, when the school itself has its own space, they're not very keen to, put their kids into a school bus and, put 4 teachers, and with a lot of hassle, they send their kids somewhere else. They don't like that.
Okay, I also have a question on coaching. Somebody wants to know, is coaching also a part of the franchise model, and how does that work?
No, ma'am, the coaching is not a part of this. We are exclusively talking about Olympiads, uh, how to generate, conduct Olympiads and selling the preparatory books. So we just focused on that. Coaching will come at a secondary stage. We're not into that. We're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
But what I want to tell the coaching people is, ma'am, we have a lot of tutors. We have a lot of people who are into coaching. So we tap a good number of coaching places also, because, sometimes school may not say yes. So if there are 100 students in a coaching, they all want to participate. So Resonance and Alan and all, they are very much participating in Olympiads. So, and they participated, in fact, 4 to 5 Olympiads at one go, and a lot of brilliant students coming from Kota and all. So the coaching, who are running coaching, they can, have their centers who can participate in our Olympiads. And if they are, people, they're marketing people who are free during morning 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, they are the best people, ma'am. They can run to the schools, they can generate Olympiad students for us, and they'll generate intern students for themselves who are running their coaching.
Okay.
Because we're just focused on the Olympiad part. Now, if the school comes and tells, okay, now can you prepare my child for, let's suppose, IIT or NEET or something, they'll come to their coaching. So it's a double, advantage for coaching institute. That's why we always, prefer tutors, coaching people, because they have, from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, they are relatively free. And when the, child comes back home and then he goes to the coaching, then they get active. So from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, these marketing guys from the coaching can very well reach out across to the schools. So the big advantage for them.
Great. Dr. Saab, I have a question. We talked about Dubai, we talked about Nepal. Are we looking at awarding master franchisees outside India in these locations? Is somebody who's keen on maybe UAE, for example, can we award franchisees outside India?
Yes, ma'am, very much. And in fact, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, UAE, not just UAE, I mean Saudi Arabia. So wherever you have this Indian curriculum schools, either ICSE or CBSE, these schools really come forward and demand that, we want something extra come as extracurricular, and they look for the Olympiads. So these Olympiads are a huge success in the Gulf.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of Malayali parents are really looking forward to, making their kids participate in this, and they look for that certificate. So a lot of them don't want to come back to India. They look for, more greener pastures in the West for their kids. So these certificates really help them.
Very interesting. And I think we can also, because we run operations in Bangladesh and Nepal in the market, so Friends in India can really help in these markets to find a partner. So we already overrun the time. So we take the final word from you, Sonia, and Dr. Saab, from you. I think whatever you want to share with the audience, and then we still have a lot of questions, which we normally, our teams after this follow up and reach out to every single investor and ask for your time also in terms of getting some particular questions being answered, so that we are able to bring knowledge to them, and so that they can make an informed decision. Is this business right for them? We always encourage our investors that every opportunity is great, and we choose the opportunity and bringing, but you need to see, would you fit to this opportunity? Would you be able to do justice to this opportunity? And would be able to do? And your business model is very simple, sustainable, a lot of low investment, so a lot of it can be a business for many years for you, but you need to really see how you would put the initial few months, because I feel that businesses like these need the first 5-6 months hard work.
Yes.
And once you are able to do that hard work in the first 5-6 months, then the business starts taking care of yourself. So final word from you, Dr. Saab, and then I'll pass it on to Sonia.
Mariaji, the final thing is, it's a very good money making business, and with hardly any input required for materially. And it gives you kind of a social fillip also, it gives you kind of a respect. And I, there are a lot of, you can, sell a lot of items, but this is something, you go to school, you meet the principal, the teacher. It's a respectable social, with a respectable social outlook, you can make huge amount of money in a very short time. And it stays on, that incremental. Next year you're making more, even further next year you're making even more than that.
Sonia, your remarks.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Saab. It was in fact very educational for all of us. And as you rightly said, we have millions of students studying largely untapped market as we see today. And there's a big gap, and especially with India's population, where the majority of population is Generation Z and now Generation Alpha. We feel a business opportunity like this would make a big, the gap, would fill a very big gap currently, which is in this industry. So we wish you all the best, Dr. Saab, in this journey. And I hope that we are able to, have this year, which is fulfilling the dreams, penetration all across the country. And we would love to work together on this opportunity with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I also feel that with now the digital age and all this reach which is available, and how winners of the Olympiad can be positioned and given that respect, both the electronic channel and so on, so forth, can be very big. And more they get positioned, more they get respect for what their achievement is, more a lot of kids would like to join, and they would ask from their institutions to be part of that. So I think my suggestion would be, Dr. If you also can think through, create a maybe a proper digital property, and where the final winners of the Olympiad and other people can get that reward and recognition and exposure to the world structure. Because I was part of an Oxford school in Oxford University, where they're actually teaching a 13-year-old, 14-year-old to work on a project by BMW and things like that. So there are brilliant minds available within the country also, and these brilliant minds need recognition. In Western world, they're easy to get recognition, and a lot of corporates spend on that. And I would say that now, both by recognizing talent at school level, would be the next initiative by corporates. corporates actually participate in education cycle post your graduate, postgraduate, and then they try to skill up. I feel that at the foundation level, if you try to skill up people, which is the school, then I think it will be much better, talent you will get out. Because we actually do reverse learning. We train them, put them into a learning curve, and then they try to relearn after then when they come out. So I think that a lot of companies I know would like to invest at that, and you will get a lot of sponsorship. A lot of corporates would come and participate in your Olympiad to get recognized and even start investing with the kids of that age, from that level to build what I call future leaders of our economy.
That was a very good suggestion, Mariaji. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Archana, over to you for your final word, and then we close the session. It's very interesting and informative.
Thank you so much, Gaurav sir. So thank you so much, Gaurav sir. Thank you so much, Sonia ma'am, for giving all the insights to us. Thank you so much, Sandeep sir, for taking out time from your schedule and you interacted with our investors. It was really an interactive session as suggested uh, by Gaurav sir. So thank you so much, friends and families, for joining us today for this particular webinar. Tomorrow, we have another big brand coming up for you, where our respected panelists would be there. They are taking out time just to interact with you. We have Plug and Go, a great brand to associate with. Look forward to have you tomorrow. You can reach out to us. You can see the chat tool. I'm just writing all the information where you can reach out to us. Our panelists try to give you answer for most of the queries, but still you can reach out to us. You can also touch base Franchise India on all our social sites. These are the addresses where you can reach us. You can write back to us. You can make a call to us. You can reach to our response center also. Uh, that's from our side. Look forward to have you tomorrow for a great session again. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sandeep sir. Thanks, Gaurav sir. Thanks, Sonia ma'am. Take
Thank you
care.
very
Stay
much.
safe.
If you want to reach
Stay safe.
and me, you can reach on LinkedIn, and also, if you have tomorrow's session is very interesting again. Just for people who want to come back, we are doing it on. There's a lot of buzz going on in terms of e-vehicles, and we are talking and bringing the pioneer in this space, which is for e-charging, for both two-wheelers and for the four-wheelers. So it's a very interesting business model. So look forward for tomorrow's session. Thank you very much for joining today.